Florida's governor has expanded a state of emergency tonight to include his entire state. Hurricane Dorian is expected to make landfall there by Monday, possibly as a powerful Category 4 storm. Officials are warning residents up and down the state's eastern coast to get ready. And the president has canceled a planned trip to Poland over the weekend to oversee the federal response to Dorian. This video released a short time ago shows the size of the storm. This was captured by the crew aboard the International Space Station when they passed over Dorian earlier today. And an update on the storm's projected path was released just a few minutes ago. So we're going to bring in our meteorologist, Bill Cairns. Bill, what is the very latest here?
The very latest, and I'm going to try to put the positive spin on this because right now, 3 to 4 days from a possible landfall direct impacts, the hurricane forecast I just read and just got done briefed on is about the worst case possible scenario. Now you're saying, why is that good news? Because I'm glad it's not tomorrow, because then it would just be as dire as possible it could be. I'm hopeful that this will change in the next 3 to 4 days. So let me explain. Now we're up to 105-mile-per-hour winds. Dorian's now up to a Category 2. We've known all along there's not much to stop it from getting much more intense. It could be a major Category 3 by tomorrow. It could be a Category 4 by the time we get to, say Friday or even into Saturday. So here's the new forecast path. We know it's going to be this big, bad, intense storm. Wherever it hits, it's going to do catastrophic wind damage. There'll be storm surge problems, everything that comes with a big, huge storm, just like we've seen in the last couple of years with the Irmas and the Maria, and also last year with Michael. So the Hurricane Center has it, takes it 2 to a 3, and then by the time we get to Sunday night through the northern Bahamas, notice it's a little further south. They shifted it about 20 miles to the south, now coming onshore just north of West Palm Beach as a Category 4, which is still as before, but 140-mile-per-hour winds. And the problem, the biggest issue, is I measured the distance between this point here and here. That's 215 miles. It's possible that this storm could approach the coastline at about 4 to 5 miles per hour in a Category 4 storm. That's never happened before. Usually they're up around 8, 9, 10 miles per hour, maybe 15. That's an extremely slow-moving storm, and those have multiple high tide cycle issues. They have rainfall issues, not to mention that those high winds in the same locations over a long period of time have more stress on all the rooftops and the structures and the trees and everything else in its way. So from here on out, over the next about 48 hours, we have no land in the way. So we're just going to be watching our computer models. This is one of the latest batch. They come out every 6 hours. We'll continue to see what the trends are. Hurricane Center has the forecast down here. You notice our models have trended that way. I mean, you look at this one, it even does stall it. There is a possibility, at least, that if this storm continues to go even slower, that just maybe we can weaken the ridge enough to the north that one of these squiggly lines can happen and take place, where it kind of stalls out a little bit, maybe gets near the coast, scares it, and then kind of wiggles itself offshore. That would be the best case scenario. It's unlikely right now, but it's not 0%. You notice most of the lines on our American GFS ensembles do come right across the Florida Peninsula, and even a few would bring it back here into areas of the northeastern Gulf. Now, our European computer models, our most reliable long-term model, this was what we got this afternoon. We'll get a new one of these that will come out about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. It'll be a lot of meteorologists will be staying up and emergency managers to see what it does. But this one, what it did is it takes it down towards West Palm Beach and then rakes it right up the Florida coastline. So we'll wait and see, Steve, if what that model does. Again, this one will be coming out about every 12 hours or so, and that's all we can do right now. It's too early for hurricane watches. It's too early for the warnings. It's too early for the evacuation orders. It's just get prepared, and when those orders come, you want to move out quickly.
Well, you got my attention there with one thing you said. I just want to ask you about it. You said you have never seen a storm moving in potentially as slowly as this one, 4 miles an hour. I guess that's about half the speed you're saying it normally would be?
We have had storms that have stalled out before, and we have had storms that have smaller, weaker storms that have stalled right near the coast. I mean, just look what happened in the Houston area with a stalled out storm, 50, 60 inches of rain. We've had that before. What I've never seen is the forecast for a 140-mile-per-hour Cat 4 to stall out and move on shore that slowly before. I mean, Andrew was much faster than that. The Labor Day storm way back when was faster than that. I'm trying to think of some of the big, huge Category 4 and 5s. I mean, Michael last year was faster than that. Camille was faster than that. I mean, I've never really seen this powerful of a predicted storm do this. Now, again, it could change, and I don't see what's going to speed it up. These storms are steered by big, huge areas of high pressure. Sometimes they're influenced by cold fronts or what we call troughs. There's very weak steering pattern for this storm. So it's moving pretty well and pretty quickly, and then it's going to slow down, and maybe stall out or just drift across the Florida peninsula. So, yeah, that's just not, that just brings in so many multiple problems, especially if you have a major hurricane. You get prolonged winds, you get prolonged multiple high tide cycles, and then, about, I think it's 70 or 80% of fatalities are from water. So we got the storm surge and the problem with all that heavy rain with a slow-moving storm. I know Florida's got sandy soil, but if you get a storm that moves this slowly through the Florida peninsula, I mean, flooding will be a huge, epic problem well into next week. So, as I said earlier, the 11 o'clock update was one of the worst-case scenarios that you could possibly have for anywhere in the world for a hurricane landfall. But we have 3 days to change that.
Just quickly, because I mean, this was not what I was necessarily expecting. I've watched the forecast get worse and worse over the last few days. I mean, hopefully it gets better. Is there a scenario where this could even get worse, though?
The only thing that would be worse was if it got up to Category 5. And, I mean, right now it's supposed to be 140 mile per hour. To get to a Cat 5, it has to get over 155. Another 15 really isn't that big of a deal. With the low shear environment, extremely warm water temperatures along the way, there's really not much, that stop it. There's some dry air around the storm that may interrupt it here or there. But if it got to a Cat 5, would it surprise me or anyone else? No. But right now they're saying possibility of a good size Cat 4 right on the Florida coastline come Labor Day afternoon and evening. And if that's the case and that's the scenario and this forecast holds true, just to let everyone kind of know the timing, of course, and all of a sudden we're further south down along the coast. Yesterday we were at the Space Coast. Earlier today we were down at the Indian River and Vero Beach. And now we shifted down towards West Palm. We're talking about some huge population centers that are going to have to make some hard calls with evacuations. And, we're about 48 hours away from a huge mass evacuation order if this forecast holds true.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.